We're here at Collision 2022 in Toronto, one of the world's largest technology conferences, and we'll be talking about the biggest technological innovations and trends that investors need to be watching for right now with our next guest, Martin Migoya. He is the co-founder, founder, and CEO of Globant, an IT company with more than 24,000 employees all around the world, focusing on IT developments, AI, and infrastructure. We'll be talking about your company and the latest reports that the Sentinel report that projects the future trends of the technology space. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Kitco.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Martin, your company has an $8 billion market cap, more than 24,000 employees based in Latin America, currently working with many, many large tech companies like Google, Electronic Arts, operating in 19 countries around the world. We're going to get to how you build this company from the ground up into a mega cap, large technology company traded on the NYSE. But first, I want to get your take on the technological innovations that investors need to be paying attention to right now. As I mentioned to you offline, we are a trade publication. Investors are curious about what to place their money in that could be benefited from technological trends. What are these trends, Mark?
Well, look, thank you so much, David. I believe there's at least three mega trends that we need to pay attention to. And while talking about investment, it is very important that we focus on those mega trends because things slowly are starting to happen and will keep on happening. And sometimes we tend to forget them. So which are those three? The first one is AI, how AI will take over pretty much every industry. We're applying AI to how we code, to how we test, even to how we recruit, or to how we connect people to projects or how to share knowledge. All those fields for Globant as a professional service organization is where we are trying to reinvent the professional service organization with artificial intelligence. But I'm talking about professional services and how to apply AI to that, while it could be applied to pretty much any industry in the planet. So I would say that one place to pay attention is how those implementations of AI, which are successful in certain industries, are extremely important to pay attention to because will be the way to increase productivity, to be more efficient, and to create new jobs. I mean, everybody's talking about AI how it will destroy jobs. I think it will create new jobs and it will replace and will dignify a lot of jobs and making them more efficient, more augmented in many different ways. So that's one trend that we need to pay attention. The second one is how the internet is being reinvented. And for me, that reinvention is the Metaverse. And a lot of buzz and noise has been around the word Metaverse. But in essence, it's extremely important to understand that the Metaverse is what our kids are doing today. They are playing games. They're playing games in universes. They're playing games in 3D worlds where they walk and they shoot and they run and they do things with their avatars.
Yes.
And those walls where they walk through are empty. Metaverse is an instance in which those walls will have an Amazon store. Those walls will have a Netflix cinema. It will have a disco to go and meet your friends and listen to music, a Spotify disco. It will have it's a reinvention of the two-dimension, navigation experience we have today.
You're talking about Web 3.0?
No, I'm talking about Metaverse.
Ah, okay.
It's a reinvention of what we have today on a navigation experience which is two-dimensional,
Yes.
like we do in the web browser.
Yes.
Now you need to take it to a three-dimensional space
Yes.
with an avatar that represents you and
Right.
that finds another people. So that's the second thing, which is the Metaverse and
Yes.
how we are seeing the Metaverse evolving. And the third one is Web 3.0 and everything that is happening connected to that, which I think is much deeper than crypto. Crypto is like an expression of a change on a philosophical change that is happening right now. And that philosophical change is the divorce between hardware and software. And that's Web 3.0. It's for the first time the ability of software to exist without people being able to turn off machines. It will keep on existing because it's distributed among many different places. It cannot be changed. And the blockchain and the concepts that are behind it will reach and connect to pretty much every single industry. So just to summarize, AI, the Metaverse space, And the third is everything that is happening on Web 3.0, which the first instance is the crypto space where we are doing today, but there are many more things that will happen in the coming future, NFTs, so on and so forth.
I want to ask you about the Sentinel report you released, your company released on the Metaverse. Also, I want to ask you about digital currencies. But first, let's go back to the first trend that you talked about, AI, very broad field. People are confused sometimes about what the advent of artificial intelligence means for not just investors, but also for the everyday person. I want to bring up a story that's been trending on media recently about a Google engineer who supposedly created a chatbot that he believes is sentient, meaning the AI has consciousness, thinks like a human, can think for himself or itself. And he was recently placed on suspension by Google for leaking this information to the public. His superiors at Google told him to shut it down. He said, no, the AI begged me not to shut it down because it believes it's sentient and I don't want to shut it down. In his words, he said that if I didn't know exactly what it was, which is a computer program we built recently, I think it was a 7 or 8-year-old kid that knows physics. He told that to the Washington Post. Okay, so is it real that we have artificial intelligence right now that can learn for itself, think for itself, gain consciousness, and basically have sentience, which is what humans have?
Look, I think it's too early. I mean, maybe at some point in the future it will happen, but I believe still we are in the verge of the AI. We are starting to understand how to train machines, how to make them learn in a very slowly way. Still, the models are models that needs to be trained, and the computing power still needs to evolve for that. I think that's a very, I would say, media-oriented declaration, but it's not a reality that is happening.
How far away do you think we are from this happening?
I have no clue. I have no clue.
So when more AI comes into the industry, when there's more automation, more robots, which industry do you think would employ robotics and AI the most? Is it healthcare? Is it the military? Is it financial services? Where do you see AI being employed the most in the future?
Well, look, I mean, on the financial space, it's for sure. I mean, it will be a lot of cases in which AI can help augment the capabilities of people. On the space of how to understand consumers and everything that consumers are trying to do, it's a space that is very, very complicated today, and it's something that AI can do a huge dent.
Yes.
I'm not talking about a specific industry, but consumers connect with many different industries at the same time. So,
yes.
In essence, is everything that has to do with connecting with consumers in a smarter way. Bots that can talk to people, can understand them, can execute things. Like, for example, I want to have a vacation with my family in Hawaii, and that's it. And everything that comes after that is managed and handled by AI. I'm just giving you a very simple example, but the same could happen in finance. The same could happen in many different spaces. I think on the automotive space, the self-driving capabilities that Tesla is already, showing in a very efficient way, will keep on evolving and will have a big dent there. There are many industries. I would not say that. That's why I was saying before that AI will go in pretty much any industry. In medicine, for example, doctors training AI to be able to detect illnesses way before is also a good case to understand and to apply. And we need to be very smart to detect those opportunities and to execute it. The sooner the better.
Are you concerned about, Elon Musk brought this up, he said, and he and some other tech entrepreneurs said that AI should never be used in the military. He's afraid of drones, for example, thinking for themselves, attacking humans. I think we've seen that in movies.
We've seen that in movies. That's all I will say. We've seen that in movies.
Not a reality for you.
Well, no, I don't think so.
Okay, do you think that we will have another industrial revolution, or do you think there will be mass unemployment because of AI?
I think AI will change employment. It will not destroy employment. It will augment the capabilities of people for solving things in a totally different manner. And that's how we have seen historically AI at Globant, and how we have been implementing that. And there's a limit where we need to say no where we need to stop developing AI for things that really will hurt people.
Do you think
And
there
that's
will
a
be-
place where we need to stop. And there needs to be like a very clear manifesto, and at Globant we have one, on which things we will play and which things we will avoid, right?
Do you think there will be jobs that will be lost forever, certain jobs?
It will be changed. They will be changed. I don't think they will be lost. It will be changed and evolve into something different.
Warehouse workers, like in Amazon, potentially robots could take the spot of a warehouse
That's already
worker.
happening.
Yes.
That's already happening. I mean, it's not the future. It's the
Right.
present
Yeah.
and past. So I believe works will change to be different, to be something more connected to humanity than it was before.
Maybe no more cab drivers, right? You mentioned self-driving cars, yeah.
Well, maybe that's one opportunity.
All right, let's talk about the Sentinel report that Globant released recently. The second trend you brought up, the metaverse. So I'm just going to read a few statistics from your report. The new Globant survey reveals that 73% of respondents feel the metaverse is accessible to them. Only 26 have experienced it. Okay, the metaverse is a very broad term. There are many different kinds of metaverses, different industries that use metaverses. What do you mean by 26% have experienced it? What have they experienced exactly?
They have used it. They have used it on games. They have used it in many different experiences, like in meetings or things like that.
Yeah.
It's important to note that as new ideas that are coming into the table, like the metaverse, they're ideas, and those ideas have some instances of reality, like for example, what's happening with many different games on the game industry, where my boys, for example, are already experimenting that that metaverse, and they're playing every day on that specific metaverse, which is not connected to other metaverse.
Yeah.
So sometimes we think about metaverse like being a monolithic, thing, and it's not. It's like many different universes, which for now they are disconnected. And by the way, the avatar that is representing you in one metaverse will not represent you on another metaverse.
Right.
That migration of one avatar from one metaverse to the other is still to be defined. So there's a lot of things that needs to be defined yet that are not, specified to connect between many different universes. How an asset that you create in one universe, let's say you created a car in one universe, how you can use that same car in another metaverse, that is not defined yet. So
personally, I'm curious to see how the metaverse today is going to evolve in the future. For example, I'm a big gamer. I love playing video games. Not so much now, I don't have time now, but I used to play World of Warcraft. I used to play online RPGs where you have an avatar, you control it with your keyboard, it's on a monitor, but you interact with people from another continent. In a sense, that is one form of a metaverse because you're controlling an avatar. It's an in-game environment, but it's still an in-game universe. How is the metaverse of the future different from, let's say, a World of Warcraft or a Diablo or whatever games we already have?
It will be very similar in my perspective. The need of a helmet or a 3D device is not mandatory for me. I mean, I think it could be used on a screen, on an iPad, on an iPhone, and but the evolution is that you will be able to navigate from one metaverse to the other, like in a seamless manner, like we do today on the web, like navigating from one web page to the next web page without any. And today you need to change applications to go from one metaverse to the other. That's one thing. The other thing is that the same avatar that is representing you in one universe will be able to represent you in many different universes.
Right.
And the same assets you have in one thing, you can migrate them to other places in a seamless manner. All those things are still under discussion, and there's not a standard, and there's a lot of fight there to see who's going to be the standard. Indeed, there's an open source community that is trying to define those standards in which we are participating. So I believe that there's a lot of things still to be discovered, still to be evolved.
Yes.
But yes, the main concept is that this is a reinvention of the internet itself and the experience that we are using to navigate content in the internet and how to connect with other people in the internet. That's why Mark Zuckerberg is so interested in what's happening in the space, and many others.
Yeah, I was telling you offline, the Meta stock, Facebook, it used to be called Facebook, now it's called Meta. Investors, to me, don't feel confident in the metaverse because the stock price doesn't reflect this confidence. It's down a lot. They've missed earnings. Would you agree with the statement that investors are not yet ready to adopt this technology?
Look, new ideas and new technologies, they always have a place where people don't believe, and then another place where people start to believe, another place that goes exponential, another place where it's a bubble, and then another place where that bubble bursts. And I believe that we are still in the very beginning of the game. It's very early, I think, to say yes or no to your question.
And to be fair, all stocks are down. So we can't just say, I can't just say Facebook is down, Meta is down, and people don't believe in it. But one of my last question about the metaverse. One of my favorite movies is The Matrix. It's a form of a metaverse. So we get hooked up, we die in the metaverse, we die in real life. Is that going to happen?
Yeah, look.
How far are we from a matrix?
Are thinking that we are in a matrix already.
Yeah, we're in a simulation. Are we in a simulation?
In a simulation.
Are you in nice computer simulations?
Like, the other day I heard an argument saying the probability of us being in a simulation is about 1. So it's,
do you believe that?
No, I don't. But mathematics are mathematics. You can always, it's like spreadsheets.
For those of us who watch you right now who may not understand what we're talking about, so there's this theory that in the future, quantum computers will have enough power to create a near perfect hologram or simulation that you can go in and experience any universe or any scenario you want. And then the idea, they take this one idea one step further. Well, if that can happen in the future, what's to say that currently we are not already a computer simulation?
Yeah, which the question is, which is the probability of this being the first 500 years in the history of the universe?
Right.
So the answer to that is difficult, but in any case.
Let's talk about your third trend, Bitcoin as a philosophy. The bigger trend is digital money, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about central bank digital currencies. Many central banks are working on it, if not currently already have one in under development. Tell us about why you think digital currencies are necessary. I was talking to you offline. Currencies digital already. I scan my phone to pay for my coffee or whatever. I hardly have any cash on me. People are in agreement with me. Nobody really carries cash today. Why do we need a digital form of a fiat currency that we already use anyway?
No, there's a lot of inefficiency still on the financial system that needs to be solved.
Yes.
And I think a digital dollar, for example, would help to clean up those efficiencies. But there's a much larger philosophical thing happening, which is that divorce that I talk about between hardware and software, and that independence, and that I would say, independence of the software to be run without the ability for people to change, unless they are all in agreement, to change what this software is about. And that philosophical change is driving a lot of things. And one of those things is crypto. But there are many others. When you talk about, for example, NFTs, it's a space in which those things, in which the ability to have a certificate of that you own a digital file is changing pretty much everything on the art space, on many different places. Crypto is one instance of that philosophical change, but there will be many, many others. So I believe towards the central bank thing that you were explaining is that every year when we vote, every elections, when we vote, we are delegating as citizens the ability of, our ability to print money into our politicians, into our government. And when governments are not disciplined, what they do is they spend more than they should.
Yeah.
So they solve it by calling the guys that print money, saying, hey, I need this amount, and they will print, X amount of millions. And that thing is, in essence, creating inflation. And inflation is a tax on the people that have less. And for me, this is absolutely odd. And I think that if people realize that there's a technology in which you can trust, that will not be governed by any politician, but they will have a set of rules in which you will be able to print money, and in other way it will be impossible. Maybe there's an opportunity to think about people delegating that power to a smart contract instead of delegating that to politicians. That will be independent on the discipline that politicians have to spend or not. That will drive, that will drive discipline to politicians. So I believe on that. I don't know if it will happen or not, but I'm sure that the technology is ready for that to happen.
Interesting point you brought up about inflation. There are many theories as to how to fix inflation with a new global monetary system. one of these theories is that we should go back to a gold standard where we tie the fiat currency to a commodity like gold, anchor it to something that has limited supply. We can talk about that. And they point out to the fact that during the Bretton Woods period, 1945 to 1971, the US experienced relatively low inflation until after the Bretton Woods was removed. So this financial discipline that you're talking about should be anchored, should be done by anchoring the currency to something. What is that something? Is it gold? Is it Bitcoin?
But it's not. No, sorry, but it's not about anchoring. Anchoring is a very old concept of how to.
You don't. So you don't support the gold standard.
Okay. I don't believe in anchoring. I believe that states must have their own currency because it's one big way of creating a state. I believe that discipline is the anchor that you're looking for.
Okay, forget that because we can never have that. You're telling about changing human emotions. We have to. No. We can't have that.
Well, look, I mean, you're right, but that's why it's so important. I mean, when governments has the discipline to do the things right, inflation does not happen. And we have had an extraordinary situation with the pandemic where government needed to print a lot of money, and that's something that it won't last forever. And I think at the end, in a couple of quarters or maybe a year or two,
right,
that will be fixed because the U.S. has a history of being pretty disciplined on how to spend money.
Well, are cryptos and digital currencies one way for governments to maintain this discipline? Is that a tool they can use? In a perfect world, yeah, they discipline themselves, but let's talk about the real world where they need some tools to help them. Is crypto one such tool?
Crypto, I think crypto and the blockchain and the independence of software is one of those tools, absolutely.
Interesting. Final question, I'll let you go. Tell us about the founding of Globant. What was your vision when you founded this company, I believe in 2014, was it?
Yeah, it was, no, 2014 we went public. It was 2004.
Oh, yes.
sorry.
You went public in 2014, 2003 you founded the company. And you grew it all the way to 8 billion market cap. I mentioned was the most recent figure I saw. What was your vision up till then, up till now? I mean, and has your vision changed over the course of the last 20 years?
Of course, it changed. We started the company with the idea of creating opportunities within the technology space for people in the whole Latin America. That was the initial idea. Very soon we discovered that the industry was absolutely like something that has never been reinvented for the last 50 years at least, and we very soon started to develop software with new concepts, with new ideas, with new technologies like we're using now with our Agur, which is artificial intelligence with that for developing code. We decided that the best way to get opportunities for our young people in the whole Latin America was to create software for the most important brands, in the planet, and we did that. We started with a very small contract in UK with lastminute.com. Very soon, we became the first company that developed software for Google outside the Googleplex in 2006. That was the first time Google was outsourcing anything was to us. And we brought that to Latin America and to very small cities inside Latin America, and we started to making a huge change in the way talent were being developed in Latin America. Today, we're 26,000 people, but we launched a few weeks ago a program called Certified Tech Developer, which is training people from other industries to become entry-level programmers, developers, and engineers in our company. And it was funny, we received 140,000 subscriptions in just 1.5 months, something like that. So people now are fully committed with the idea of changing their career into technology. But at the very heart of what we want to do is to reinvent the professional service space. Okay. And that's a vision we had when we started the company, pretty much the same vision we have today that haven't changed. The execution of that is different. We went public in 2014, as you said. And we believe that in the same way Elon reinvented the automotive space by creating a new experience when you sit down on a Tesla. A Tesla from the outside is pretty much like any other car. Yes. When you sit down inside, you start feeling the differences. This is exactly what we want to do on the professional service space.
There's a lot of problems with the developing world in Southeast Asia, Africa, and places like Latin America, some places in Latin America. If you can fix one problem in the developing world with one technology, improve the lives of people in the developing world with one piece of technology, what problem would you fix? What technology
Can
would
I
you
say
employ?
two?
Sure.
I would say two. The first one is to use the latest possible technologies to avoid inflation and to avoid corruption.
Okay.
And the second will be to be able to train, to use the latest technologies and artificial intelligence to train our people. The faster, the sooner, the better. To train young people and to transform their lives and their careers. And we need a lot of that in all those markets that you described.
Great. Martin, pleasure speaking with you.
so much.
I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for joining Kitco.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Kitco News. We'll have more for you at Collision in Toronto.